Hey folks, it's Matt from the Cultivator Club with a super quick video. If you've got about 2 minutes, keep watching. We're going to talk about contamination. Contamination during the mushroom cultivation process. Try saying that fast. Okay, so we're going to talk about what it is, why it happens, and then what you can do or what you can't do about it. Stick around. So what is contamination? Well, at a strictly academic level, contamination is what happens when an outside bacteria or an outside fungus gets into your cultivation, it gets into the grain bag or it gets into the tub, and it starts competing for food with the mushrooms that you actually want to grow. There's all sorts of contaminants. There's black mold fungus, there's spiderweb fungus or spiderweb mold, yeast. Yeast is actually fairly common because during the cultivation process, we're almost always using grains, and yeast loves grain, which brings up an interesting point. If you get a yeast contamination in your grain bag, it's going to smell like beer. I mean, really, it smells almost exactly like an amber pale ale. It's just got that really beery scent. On the other hand, if you get black mold, well, it's going to go black. If you get spiderweb mold, it's going to look a lot like a spider web growing on top of your mycelium. And if you get trichoderma, well, here's where things get tricky for me. I'm colorblind. I am severely red-green colorblind, so I actually can't spot trichoderma itself because it tends to be a vibrant green color. But it has a really distinct odor. And that odor, have you ever been in an old basement, like an old, dark, dank basement? That's what trichoderma smells like. I'm going to open up this lid. It's foul. It's also overexposed, but oh, God, that stinks. Uh, Actually kind of smells like death. That's the best way to describe it. Oh man, that's wild. This would be longer than a 2 minute video. Anyways, the way I usually check for contamination is by doing the sniff test. If I've got grain bags, I sniff them, sniffing for beer. If I've got some sort of black or darker contamination, I can see that down there. And then when trichoderma hits, man, I mean, the odor just tells you right away, you've got it. Okay, why does it happen? With grain bags, well, yeah, a lot of times, we're handling these things, we're giving them massages to spread mycelium, and sometimes little micro cracks can actually develop in the seams so bacteria or yeast can get inside. But more often than not, what happens is people start touching this filter patch. This is how air gets into the bag, it's how carbon dioxide comes out. But if you actually touch it, your hands have oils, and those oils can carry bacteria and yeast over to the other side. So avoid touching this thing. Where I most commonly see contamination is when we take our grains, our colonized grain. This is a fully colonized grain bag. We transfer it over to a tub. These tubs get exposed to a lot of fresh air, and that's an opportunity for yeast, bacteria, all sorts of stuff to get in there. The most common one I see, again, trichoderma. And trichoderma usually happens during the summertime because it loves warm temperatures. It loves being 75 degrees and above. And unfortunately, these are temperatures that mushrooms like also. So it tends to become a war, a competition between the two of them. Now, what can you do? If your bag gets contaminated grain bag, toss it out. They're cheap. Start all over again. You're not going to open it up and get rid of it. If you have black mold growing in your tub, scoop it out, get a clean spoon, scoop it out, and then spritz it down with a little bit of hydrogen peroxide. Weirdly enough, mycelium tolerates hydrogen peroxide. It doesn't like it, but it will tolerate it. But it will kill off, the hydrogen peroxide will kill off the mold. It will also kill off spider web mold, which, as the name says, it looks like a spider web. What kills off trichoderma? I am not opening this up again. Not much. If you have a tiny, tiny patch of trichoderma growing inside of your tub, you can potentially scoop it out and then sprinkle a whole bunch of salt on top of it. which could kill it off. It's going to kill some mycelium around it, but you'll know within 2 or 3 days if you have more trichoderma growing in the tub. Quite honestly, when I see it, I usually just toss the tub out. I have kept this tub. That is absolutely foul. Okay. So normally I would toss out a tub like that. I would have tossed that out ages ago. Oh, that's really bad. I kept it for this video because I knew I wanted to put it on camera at some point. Speaking of videos, if you enjoyed this one, despite the smell, if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, give it a like. That really helps out the algorithm. More people will end up seeing the video. Also, if you want to know when the next video is coming out, because I'm going to be making videos about grain bag inoculation and making substrate and maybe even going off on a foraging trip, subscribe. You will get an alert when the next video goes up. Until that time, it's bad. Until that time, keep on going and keep on contamination free growing. All right, see you.